Hola, SAP developers. Welcome to the third session, part of these days of the TOEFL 2025 integration track. Before we start, please feel free to drop your questions on the chat window as we will be monitoring it and we can answer some of your questions there. We are also going to do Q&A at the end of the session, but you can also, depending if it's relevant to what the speaker is saying, we might also interrupt the speaker. So this session is all about the solution architectures, right? Beautiful solution diagrams and the SAP Architecture Center. So which is a place that you should all be familiar with, as you can find very useful reference solution architectures. Today, I have two colleagues of mine. So Fabian, who leads the SAP BTP Solutions Diagrams, and Pio, who leads the SAP Architecture Center. Without any further delay, hola, Fabian, Pio, over to you guys.
Antonio. Yeah, right. I will talk in the beginning and Pio will reach. I hand over to Pio. And the topic is about solution diagrams. I think not a really brand new topic, but I think important topic, and especially as we launch SAP Architecture Center at Sapphire timeframe. But more later on. Maybe find my clicker here now. I'm Fabian. Basically, I think a long time ago, also a community member. I think since 2007. I think, and now I'm more or less an enterprise architecture in the area of data platform product success. And maybe Pio, you can also say some few words to you.
Yeah, sure. So I'm driving this the SAP Architecture Center initiative. So I assume the role of product manager, and it's my first participation here today.
Fantastic. Yeah, right. And both of us was already, I think, on the SAP Insight track last week in Hamburg, for example. Yeah, so we are also supporting the community already. Yeah, but today it's the Oktoberfest, and I'm really happy to participate and can share a bit of knowledge what we have and what is the direction and what will become. Yeah, right. And that's currently on the agenda a bit. So we'll step into the story of solution diagrams, and then I will go a bit of the design guideline, which we have designed together with my colleague of mine, Lisa. He's currently not able to join today, but we did it together. And then also a small demo, which you can also do hands-on directly as part of the presentation. I will share a link, or Antonio more, where you can also go step by step to create an own solution diagram. That's kind of the idea. And then I will finally hand over to Pio, who will then focus on the topic of SAP architecture and how you can put these kind of diagrams, for example, as a new reference architecture, maybe in the future also as part of the Architecture Center. And maybe a short introduction, because what we did now with the solution diagrams is right. We want to bring in our own visualization as part of SAP, and I think also in the community we see a lot of blogs and posts which has already adopted the new solution diagrams. But basically, I think also the other hyperscalers has already solution diagrams representation and iconography and also some elements, and sometimes we merging that. But basically, the idea was, I think, also as Bertram Ganz, who has here invited, I guess, the solution diagrams topics this time to the SAP Cloud platform long time ago, I think was really to have a nice visualization about that. And as I worked, for example, as an SAP partner years ago, I was a really big fan also of the old ones, the PPT-based or PowerPoint-based solution diagrams, templates and shapes, what you can use to bring out whatever. In these times, it was IT scenarios and all this stuff, But now we moved a bit further, right? As mentioned, Bertram initiated this, I think, years ago already. I think 2018 was the first launch of the BTP PowerPoint-based solution diagrams, and was an update already, I think, 2 years ago in 2023. We did an update for TechEd, which was basically more a little update because the diagram itself had not changed. It was more or less that we changed some icons there. It was more the change in that area. And that was also the reason where I and Lisa stepped in and think about, okay, it's nice to have a kind of a replacement of some icons, but I think we should maybe also adopt a bit better and then the future-proof all the solution diagrams. And we decided to take this topic and go more in the direction to redesign some elements that we want to have is also aligned with the SAP diagram design guidelines. So also the Horizon adoption was one part of our discussion, and that we also has now included in the solution diagrams. And that is now the point where we want to go more in the design guideline overview, why we did it and what is the idea behind that. Yeah. So it's not a hard guideline where we say, hey, you need to create this architecture this way and this way, but we want to provide here a kind of a foundational set of guidelines and elements for how we want to target the audience, yeah, or the technical and non-technical people, because if you are working with solution diagrams, that's not the deepest level of technology which you see here. It's also more an abstraction what you have, and you can simply, I think, create with the solution diagrams a nice visualization about systems who interact together with BTP as focus, yeah, and therefore that was the idea, and also the target audience was clear, yeah, that we want to cover both, yeah, so nothing changed in this area, and we're going to have, and the idea was really to have a consistent user experience, yeah, and updated all the old elements which are not part anymore of the design language at SAP, and that was the reason where we think about let's update this. Yeah? And right, all of this was based on the old guideline from 2018, as already mentioned by Bertram. Yeah, so we took this guideline and checked the different elements and started basically from scratch here, all the redesign of elements, and we will see later also live demo on that, and we're starting now with that as well. So what we did is the first of all, and I think that makes totally sense, is I'm also a big fan of GitHub, and I think all the community is using GitHub a lot of. I think there was the idea not to focus anymore on PowerPoint. Yeah, I think that's nice for business. Yeah, but I think we want to go more interactive also with the developers. We want to create and get feedback also via issues and so on. And therefore we decided to go to GitHub and provide basically this repository, which you now can see. So basically it's a GitHub repository. What is behind the page? So starting page is for sure what you see all in the template in the presentation shortly is this little GitHub page based on Dokusaurus. I think the open source framework complete topic is about on open source, so nothing where you need to pay for. Yeah, and we have all the different, I think, the black and the light modus. But the important thing is, I guess, more the section what we have introduced. Yeah, right. So one thing what is really important for us was the diagram guideline, which we have introduced and now also have moved more to the GitHub flavor. So it's currently is a situation that we don't want to provide this anymore as PowerPoint. So we see also here a big benefit to provide this only on GitHub or on the Dokusaurus page here, that we have one central place currently, yeah, and that's the idea basically what we did here now with the diagram guideline. And what we did, or more or less Lisa, I think in the past, was we discussed how we want to create and which kind of design system makes sense. It's more Lisa's special part. I can, as a technical guy, not talk about design a lot of, yeah, but what we did at least was right to structure the elements in the new form. So what we did as well, and was a color schema. Yeah, so we decided to move over to the new color schema, which we are using now at SAP. We introduced a lot of new elements. Yeah, so we see, okay, for example, the blue box, and yeah, I think all of you mentioned that already and see it in the community blog post or on LinkedIn or on other social media areas that we have already some existing solution diagrams which has all the blue box, for example, for the BTP area, but I think there was also other areas available and are still available. We will see it later on. And if we go more on the GitHub repository and also in the diagram editor. Yeah, right. And then we put it, I think, in some stuff like connectors. I think the same stuff what we had also in the past in the PowerPoint, but now the focus is more, right, we want to provide this only on the GitHub page, yeah, and giving you also some examples where you can see also how, for example, in this example, task center look like for an L1 level, because we introduced also some different levels in the meantime. I think it's not really necessary anymore to have different levels, and mostly from my point of view, and creating a lot of solution diagrams, I'm working mostly with the L2 level, yeah, because that's enough. And I think the L1 and also an L3 level is maybe not really needed, but maybe let's see. And yeah, right. And then there are some different examples which you can also use and can also download here, and can also, I think, as you might now, also clone the repository and also put your own diagram into it. Yeah. And what we also did, I think, in addition to this diagram guideline was, right, and I mentioned this already, was a bit the ideation about, okay, which tool support we want to have. Yeah. And that was really clear that we are starting really early with Troy.o and diagrams.net, yeah, because that was a clear direction. A lot of our other people inside SAP and also outside SAP are using Troy.o, and there was also some other discussions which come up in one of our partner meetings. I guess what we have is also the Lucidchart integration, because there was also discussion, okay, Troy.o is nice, it's open source, and I'm only using Troy.o mostly. But there was also, I think, the discussion in the direction, okay, for some commercial issues, maybe in some companies, and especially in the US market, for example, also Lucidchart has a bigger integration in the company, and therefore we also decided to go with Lucidchart, which is in the meantime also a really cool tool. I would say also love this, yeah, because it's really provide more features sometimes as Troy.o, yeah. And then we did also a decision a bit to support PowerPoint, but really, really less. So we will not update PowerPoint a lot of. So most things will come in Troy.o and Lucidchart. And then we have decide, right, what we did basically, and that is, I think, already meant now is to provide icons basically. Yeah? So as part of the GitHub page, and we can have a look in a second about that, so you will get a lot of icons. So we will normally update together with the UX team from the BTP side all the BTP service icon as soon as possible, as soon as a new BTP service is available and also visible in the service catalog, for example, in Discovery Center. We will also update this page with a new service icon. Yeah, that's totally our target, and currently also the situation. I think a bit delay we have, and that is currently not so nice, is with Troy.o integration, because for the native Troy.o integration, which we see later on also in the demo, we cannot really ensure the update cycle. So we need to create an issue on this side, and therefore we have a bit delay if you look in the native integration, which we see later on as well. Yeah? And then we also provide generic icons, as basically the icons which are part also of the Fiori apps library, which you also get. And then you can also have a look on that. And we are providing all these icons in different, especially the generic icons in different colors. Yeah? Also currently we have 3 color flavors, I think black, green, and blue, which we are providing here, and the BTP service icons only in blue. Yeah, right. And talking about the GitHub repository, also what you have and what you get if you are looking more on the GitHub repository is basically we provide here the different assets. Yeah? The ideas, especially in the folder of the shape libraries and presets, we are providing now here all the libraries as custom library. You can see it also later in the demo shortly. Yeah. And we provide also for the BTP service icons, but later on I will also update this also for the generic icons than the SVGs. Yeah, also currently only the BTP service icons are available as SVG, which you can maybe reuse also in PowerPoint if you want, or any other drawing tool. But currently, I think it's only BTP service icons. And you're right, in the Troy.o folder, you find a lot of different custom shaped libraries for Troy.o, which you can then easily use, for example, if you want to have this available in Troy.o. Yeah? For example, if you maybe just switching over to Troy.o to see it, how you integrate these libraries is really easy. Yeah? So if you are, for example, locally has forked the repository on your local device, you can simply open, for example, this libraries basically. So if you're going then on this direction as well, you get all the same folder structure as shown in the GitHub repository. And here you have the capability, for example, to open some different custom libraries. For example, these BTP SaaS icon set is really new, yeah, and is currently not available with a native integration. Yeah, you see it here, a lot of different SaaS application which we are providing, like for example Cloud RLM and also other services which are part of a SaaS offering running on top of BTP as new, yeah. And if you check this now in the native integration, talking about that, so you see also the native integration you can access already, yeah, via the more shapes area in Troy.0, yeah. So you will have seen, I think if you worked with Troy.0 and Diagrams.net in the past, there are a lot of hyperscalers already in. And I think last summer we get finally also SAP icons in. And you will then get also here the total enchilada of the different areas and levels of icons basically from the guideline as part of the Troy.0 integration. And that is really nice. Yeah? You'll see all of the generic icons are here now. Yeah, if you can use it, for example, here we see the newest or one of the newest architectures, the Joule Studio reference architecture, for example. If you want to use it, for example, in any kind of this boxes, you can then make use of generic icons, or you can here see all the parental libraries as well. Yeah, but all this stuff is also available right on the GitHub repository and will be updated more faster than the native integration because it takes a bit of time if you get the newest version. Yeah? That's basically the idea. Yeah? And maybe back shortly to the slides. So one last slide for maybe two from my side. So what we now can do, if you want, we can create basically a diagram. I created, if you're scanning the QR code, or I think Antonio will also share the link in the chat. I created an URL because diagrams.net is also available in the via for example, via an URL, and not only with the desktop version. You can also preload a diagram library or the custom library for Troy.0, and that I did currently, especially for Devtoberfest. And what we can now do by entering this QR code, or I have already prepared this in my browser, hopefully, yeah, is, and I found my right level, is now the following. Yeah, also if the URL is shared now, we will get now in Devtoberfest demo custom library, which I created only for the Devtoberfest now, where we can easily, for example, create an own solution diagram. Yeah, and I will also step a bit into the explanation. Yeah, what elements we are currently have in mind if you want to have in solution diagrams. So we're starting basically, and you see it here in the also in the library, which you maybe have access now to, is basically with the BTP global account and sub-account structure I mentioned before as part of the guidelines. That's basically the blue and the white box. Yeah, so we want to have still these kind of main pillars as part of the BTP solution diagrams. And the next step, what you need to create for sure, and is then the end user perspective. Yeah, so you will have, for example, now an end user which will maybe get access to this demo or your architecture or your scenario or use case, yeah, and therefore we decided then also to putting in the end user perspective. We changed this now also a bit, so we are adding in some of the reference architecture and also in the solution diagrams now also the Joule icon flavor in, yeah, that we are also providing access via Joule to some applications, and therefore we're heading also as a kind of a client also adding now the Joule icon, yeah. And the most important thing, and a lot of you guys maybe you know this already, is right then the make use of cloud identity service, yeah, because that's a key pillar, especially if you want to integrate in cross architecture landscapes or cross architecture scenarios. You need to have cloud identity services up and running, especially if you are talking about Task Center, for example, which integrates with different LOBs, or if you are talking about, for example, Joule, which integrates with S4, with Field Class, with Concur, with BTP itself. You need to ensure to have the right correlation ID in place, called maybe the global user ID, or not maybe, that's the name, yeah, the global user ID. And therefore, this is handled and will be created via Cloud Identity Service. And therefore, it's important to make use of Cloud Identity Service as part of any kind of BTP-centric scenario, especially if you want to adopt new scenarios. That's key to understand this. Yeah? And the next step, what you can create now in this little solution diagram is to put in the build box. Yeah? For example, here we have now SAP built-in, and maybe we need to also a bit arrange our box, because I think I see that's a bit different size currently. Yeah, but here we can maybe make it a bit bigger, and this maybe also a bit smaller, or maybe remove it again. Oh, wait a sec. I'm struggling itself a bit with a live demo, but we can make it. Yeah, then we can put it maybe again in. Yeah, this looks better. So we can then have now the new build family in. You see now here, for example, this solution diagram is focusing more on build work zone. Yeah. So we put in or highlight more or less the build capability, build work zone, all with the sub capabilities here and the services which are part of build work zone. And then you can easily see, okay, that's the build work zone related architecture, but it's still, yeah, it's part of the build family. We're also providing then here in this kind of architecture, and it's also relative new, published on the Architecture Center. Now the other capabilities like build code, process automation, and so on and so on. Yeah. And the next step, what you normally do if you want to create a solution diagram is to have maybe some integration with other services. So I create also a layer here, for example, where you can see how other services are come now in the game. So let's talk, for example, transport management or custom domain service, which you can use with build work zone. Or as already mentioned, I think also the integration with Workzone Standard Edition, also the integration with Subjoule is possible. And for sure, if you want to connect backend systems, I think destination service and connectivity service are key. Yeah? And therefore, we put also this here as part of the architecture. Yeah. And finally, I think in the next step, we will maybe add a firewall, yeah, so or network layer basically, because we are connecting, I think in this demo currently cloud systems, yeah, but still a network layer which needs to be changed here, and then we can put in, for example, also our backend systems. Yeah? That means here we have now different systems which can be. Maybe we do it again before. Sorry for that, but I think it makes more sense to make it not in the blue box. No, anyway, sometimes I'm struggling a bit, but it should. Anyway, let's do it in this way. Yeah, and you can see, and if you will draw this maybe to the end and maybe change some elements, yeah, because normally the backend system should be not in the BTP box. That's currently, I think, an issue. I'm not sure how we can change it for now, but it's possible. Yeah? But anyway, yeah. And so we have now finally and ready to use architecture. What you maybe need also to add here is a legend. You can do it on top, yeah, where it explains also some colors what we are using, for example, for the schema or for the user provisioning stuff using here. An element or a color especially, or you see here also that we described in the legend and some general informations about the colors which are used in the architecture. And what's also already helpful, especially if you want to explain a bit the architecture, is really to put in maybe a short description about what is it, yeah, so what is a scenario, and finally can also maybe have a title, yeah, but that is not necessarily required because it's not a must-have, yeah, so you can decide if you want to have it, and then you're basically finished, yeah, that you have now put in or created an own solution diagram. The only missing thing is still that I think the backend system needs to be outside of the box. But let's see if we can arrange it. So normally I would say it looks like that. Yeah? So we should have a connection like this, that the systems could be outside, and then we can maybe also put in this outside, and then we are more or less in the right schema, but you can see really flexible here with destroy O to connect all the system again, and then it looks like a quite good bit better as before. So you have here also all options to connect or to draw your architecture with destroy O. Yeah. In addition to that, I mentioned this already. We put also, I think, a bit of thought in Lucidchart, and maybe I will give also a short demo about Lucid, because it's also a nice, interesting tool, especially if you have already a Lucid license. It makes sense. But finally, I think that's the idea from the live demo, which you can maybe also do in the afterwards, because it will let the library, I think, for some time also available at GitHub, so you can also try to create the solution diagrams as part, or if you want to see the recording maybe later on, and then you can also create your own architecture based on that, and also can change something if you want. So that's basically, I think, the Troy on how you can easily create solution diagrams. You see also here we have the capability, maybe this is last point to highlight, also here again, also in the web-based Troy version, the chance to integrate or to apply or to add the SAP icons. Yeah, so you can also make use really, in addition to the desktop version, also here make use of the different icons and elements which we are providing here for Troy as a native integration, or make use, right, of some custom library, as already mentioned, yeah, which you can easily also embed here, for example, from different areas, maybe from your local device, or you can also connect a GitHub repository where you can load directly the library. Yeah, that's also possible. Okay, maybe to finalize now the other diagramming tool, what is also possible, as already mentioned, right, is also Lucid. Yeah, so and if I find the right button, so I create here shortly. I think it's also a really cool tool. Hopefully it's working, but let's see. Yeah, that should work. So yeah, here we are. So that's basically Lucid. It's another tool. It's a commercial offering. Yeah, but also here we providing, for example, different integrations. Yeah, although we have here, I think it's available as part of the integrations, the marketplace at Lucid, and you can see we're also providing here, for example, the SAP service icons as part of the marketplace integration, so you can really easily adopt, for example, all the architectures if you are more the fan of Lucidchart. Yeah, and then you can use, for example, if we open maybe one of the architecture that I create already, then you can also open and draw an architecture in Lucid, yeah, which is also really a cool tool, I would say. It's not open source, it needs to be mentioned, yeah, and it's had more different flavor. It's more like they want to be the platform where the architecture are also stored. You can import Troy files, but I think it's not possible, for example, currently to connect a GitHub repository from my knowledge. Yeah, that's I think the only issue what I see with Lucidchart. But in general, a really good tool, and maybe a bit better tool, especially from some other availability where there are a lot of different integrations available. For example, yeah, you see, for example, as all the diagram as code, for example, Maymate is already integrated in Lucid, which is really nice. Yeah. And right, you can also then connect your integrations, which I showed before, yeah, for example, solution diagrams, and connect this to your installation with Lucidchart. That's also possible, yeah, right? And then you have also the same flavor as mentioned, yeah, and have also a lot of different flavors. But I'm not a seller of Lucid, yeah. Therefore, I'm using it only for solution diagrams, yeah. And you can easily then also see, for example, that we have here, I think, shared with me for example, some libraries, and then I can also use, for example, the different SAP shapes, which are also part of the libraries, which I shown before. Yeah, and that's, I think, also an option, yeah, to create some solution diagrams. But I'm also a fan of Troy currently. Yeah, but I think Troy Lucid has some more really good capabilities, especially by fast drawing and collaboration. Yeah, but anyway, that is, I think, a decision what you need to take, or what also is related to your company. Yeah, which tool makes more sense for you? Yeah, because Troy is for free, and I think it's really good tool. And as mentioned already, yeah, right. And finally, I want to say, okay, thank you. That's from my side. And yeah, please raise some question, or let's keep in contact. And please also, maybe last thing, yeah, right, it's GitHub stuff here. And if you have some issues, some trouble, or you see some additional topics which needs to be integrated here, please create an issue, and I will take care of that, and we'll discuss how we can maybe solve the problem what you had, or maybe add additional stuff into. Yeah, I'm trying to check this on a regular basis. Yeah, so that would be really helpful also for us to see an active contribution or active also collaboration on that. I think that's key for community, and that's last sentence from my side. And now I will hand over, to PO, who will talk then about SAP Architecture Center. And stop my sharing.
Thank you very much, Fabian. I'm going to share my screen, and you should be able to see my screen, right? And I'm going to share PowerPoint. Right. So, hi everyone. So I'm PO. I work for the office of the CTO, we are quite a new organization within SAP, and I have with me Navia. Navia already had a look at the questions you asked in the chat, and she already provided you with some great answers. So I will show a few slides, just a few, and after I will show you the Architecture Center. I will mention a couple of things, and also I will show what we plan to introduce at TechEd. So TechEd is roughly in a month. We are 1st of October. It's a little bit more than a month, and we are coming with new tools, the new version of the site as well. And but first, I will start with who we are. So we are the Office of the CTO. And our role is to define the strategy within SAP for the next 2-3 years. So basically, we are working on some specific or strategic topics, for example, agent-to-agent, MCP servers, etc. So there are a couple of topics right now. And so we are covering this part. Our team is mainly in 3 locations. We have other locations. We are in Palo Alto, those are the main locations, but we have also smaller locations like Hamburg, like Denver, etc. So there's always a colleague not far from where you are. That's what I want to say. So now what we are doing, so I already mentioned that the Office of the CTO is covering some strategic topics, but for the Architecture Center, and this is the topic I'm covering, we work on architecture, so reference solution architectures, RSA. We, as you can see on the slide, we define architectures, we create some repeatable use cases that are validated with customer or partners approved, and then we reference architectures. So now the question is why the SAP Architecture Center, why we created the SAP Architecture Center. So just before covering the answer to that question, I'm going to share with you a survey which was made a year ago by IDC. And the question was, what was preventing customers to adopt more digital goods, so more SAP projects? And among all the answers, you can see the ones with the red not square, the rectangle, is the lack of clear guidance or lack of a clear architecture available to understand, to adopt a new solution, to put in place a new solution. So, and that's this point brings me to the past challenges. The past challenges, if you are familiar, is a single entry point for technical information. So when you wanted to have some information, you had to go through across multiple channels, including PowerPoints, sometimes too many PowerPoints, and it was not possible to have some external contributions. SAP, like some other competitors or some technology partners, right? Most of them already have an architecture center. Take, for example, Azure, take AWS, take GCP, or competitors, for example, like Salesforce or I don't know, any. They all have an architecture center where you can find this kind of information. And the risk is to have on our side fragmented resources. And the risk is also to have out there architectural anti-patterns. And for you, so for partners and for customers, a lack of comprehensive guidance. This gives competitor advantages. So, and this is why we started to work on a solution, so the Architecture Center, where we are bringing an answer to those points, or we try to fix, I would say, those points. So with the Architecture Center, we are bringing a single source of truth. So it's a GitHub repo, I will share later on, but it's a GitHub repo, it's an open source project, which means Everything is free, everything is transparent, it's available there, it's centralized, it's collaborative. We have a community of practice around it. And the idea is to deliver some content and to maintain this content. And anyone within SAP or outside SAP can contribute and can make those architectures. So it can be any architecture, can maintain and can make them evolve with time. So now the presentation of the SAP Architecture Center, where we place the Architecture Center. So I will not go too much in detail, but we place the Architecture Center, the SAP Architecture Center as a central role here. So it's connecting the RSA, the reference architectures, to the customer and partners proof points. So for that, we work with partners. So we have hyperscalers, we have the technology partners, we have service partners, and this is connecting to the architectures which are defined by, for example, the product managers, the architects, and etc. So now the vision we have for the SAP Architecture Center, so please note this is the future vision. We want to have the SAP Architecture Center covering our offering all a catalog of reference solution architectures with the architecture validator, which was mentioned in one of the questions we had a few minutes ago, around a community of practice. Beyond that, we want to offer also some non-functional requirements, which are actually very popular, and there's a high demand around this. So around the well-architected framework, the different pillars. This is something you can find on AWS or on Azure, for example. And so yes, and everything is hosted on SAP Learning, because we want also to include this in the learning channel if you're following a curriculum. So now the SAP, the few words about the Architecture Center. So we are using, similar to what Fabian said a few minutes ago, we are using Docusaurus. Why Docusaurus? So we evaluated different frameworks, and we wanted to have something open source, and Docusaurus actually was meeting all requirements. So if you don't know Docusaurus, it's a static site generator. So it's a framework which allows you to generate static sites. And the company behind Docusaurus is Meta. So Meta, it's Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and probably other things. So, and everything around a GitHub repo. So we have a central repository. So now I have a few examples of architectures, but Fabian already presented many architectures, so I'm not going too much in detail. If you want to have a look, I will share, there will be a QR code to go to the Architecture Center. There's important information with the first bullet point. Yeah, so now I'm going to talk about the community of practice. So not too much in detail, but I will just mention a couple of things. So the entire life cycle of for the SAP Architecture Center is on GitHub. So everything we do is there. It's totally transparent. We open GitHub issues, we do PRs, so really, if you want to follow what's going on, you just go on the GitHub repo, and you will be aware. And if when, for example, something is new, or you can also contribute. So when we are talking about architectures, and this is something I will present later, it's one to many Markdown documents, and the same for solution diagrams. So one to many. Those architectures, you will see that technology domains. We have 5 technology domains, and we group them by technology domains. So you have AI and ML, data and analytics, etc. So we have 5 technology domains. And yeah, I mentioned again, external contributions are possible. This is something important. We got our first external contribution, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, on a transition architecture from PIPO to cloud integration. Now the contribution, and this is where you can join us and contribute. So first we have different steps, but the first and the most important part is to read the community guidelines. Then once you are aware of all the steps and everything you have to do, you can follow the repository, make the changes or create a new reference architecture. Once you're done, you create your pull request, you submit it. And then your PR is reviewed. Once it's reviewed, you can probably there will be a few iterations before it's validated. And then once it's validated, what you just submitted will be merged in our dev branch. The dev branch is, and this is a question we get very often, even internally, it doesn't mean once your PR is accepted and it's merged, that your changes are visible on the site. Why? Because you do a fork, you're coming for a fork, we merge into the dev branch, and once a week, usually once a week, sometimes more, sometimes less, we promote the content from dev, the dev branch, to main. And once it's on the main, we create the site and we deploy the site. And then you can see your changes. Usually it's happening on Friday afternoon, CST. Now, we already have some partners contributing to those reference architectures. You can find the names here. Those are all the joint reference architecture. So when you see something mentioning Amazon, Databricks, etc., it's something we did together with the other with the partner. So I will show an example later. So now it's the time for the demo. If you don't know the URL, I will check. Probably Nadia already posted it in the chat, but otherwise you have the QR code there. So I will show you the current version of the SAP Architecture Center, and if you stay until the end, I will show you also what's coming next. So now I should be sharing still. So first I can mention the GitHub repo we have. It's standard GitHub repo with all the information there. You can see all the contributors and yeah, everything which is important is stored there and with the different branches. But I'm going to show more the site where the look and feel is going to change a lot compared to what we have with the next version. And in this version, we were using cards. For example, if we take the GenAI, you click on the card, I can go back, you can see all the cards, so all the tags which are used for this reference architecture. And we were using the cards for a very specific reason. It's when you're looking for some information, you can find you can search actually with directly on the cards. So now the cards are going to disappear. So we're going to have all the documents on the same level. And you can see on the reference architecture, you have the main, the landing page, and the subpages. So they all follow the same structure where you have the title, you know when was the last update, the different tags, introduction, the architecture, so the solution diagram Fabian just presented. You know when was the last update on this solution diagram. So it's the last commit date of the draw.io file. And this unique ID for the reference architecture and the link, the QR code, the link you can see here for the URL. And there's so you can copy. This is a SVG file, and SVG. If you are familiar with this, you know that Microsoft Office and SVGs, it's not they're not really friends. So we have some issues with this. I mean, Microsoft has issues with SVGs. So one thing we did, we created also a copy button where we copy a PNG if you want to copy something and paste it, for example, directly in a PowerPoint presentation. We generate automatically this what is called this admonition, where you can download the solution diagram. So here it's not downloading automatically, And you can also, if you want to do something, for example, if you're a partner and you want to do something quick to present to your customer, you can just click on the edit button and make the changes you want. And once you make your changes, you save it locally, or you export as an image, for example, and you can do the presentation. So I go back here. All the reference architectures actually, in general, not all, but in general, follow the same structure, where you have the architecture, where you can download the draw.io file, edit the draw.io file, where you have the list of all components and services which are described with the appropriate links. There are also some examples. For example, if you go to SAP samples, you will find some reference applications, for example, or other resources, like, for example, some links pointing to Discovery Center missions. And you can find, last but not least, all the contributors. So this is valid for all reference architectures. I can take, for example, this one. I don't know all of them, but yeah, and they follow exactly the same pattern, I would say. Here, the viewpoints. It's what you can do is to pre-filter really. Here, it's application development. Here, it's everything related to AWS. It will change a bit in the future. I mean, the idea is the same, but the representation will be a bit different. And then we have the community of practice. So this is another important part. It's where we try to document and to guide, or to explain everything we're doing. So how you can contribute if you want, how to get started if you want to contribute, how the folders, what is the folder structure, what is the front matter. So the front matter is the metadata we use on each reference, each document, so each Markdown document. The different components, so it's not a pure resource. We also developed some components there, and there's a part on the diagramming. There's also something around if you want to develop and improve, or also if you want to reuse the tool and develop and use it for something else. So there are different parts here. I will not go too much in detail, as Fabian already made a demo. I can just mention that when you want to start, and there's, for example, this GIF where we make a demo. You can zoom. You make a demo. It's a CLI tool, and everything is explained there. If you want to use this tool to create, it's helping you to start contributing there. But now I've presented all of this. I'm going to show you, when the Zoom bar will disappear, the next version, which will be hopefully coming in 4 weeks. The team is currently still working on this, so not everything is, please consider this as a work in progress, right? Some things might change in the coming days. But the first thing is we add 2 new tools. So one is the Architecture Validator. It's pretty straightforward, so we'll make a demo later. And a Quick Start. Quick Start is a WYSIWYG tool which helps you to contribute. So you can load, for example, a Word document, or you can just type, and it's saved locally. And once you're done, you can submit a PR. So I will show you this later. We still have the community of practice and what's new, but we have also the solution diagram. This is exactly what Fabian presented earlier. So you will find this information also locally. So we try to combine everything which is useful and make it available in a central way. So it will be here. So now we have the technology domain, and one big change compared to the previous version of the site. Before, we were talking about reference architectures. Now we are talking about documents. The difference is For the V1, so the first version, which is like 4 months old, we had 25 reference architectures with some hierarchy. Now we have 84 documents, and we still have a hierarchy, but it's represented slightly differently. I will show you. And after, yes, we have technology and some additional resources. So here, nothing too different. But for example, if I go into, for example, this one, so application development and automation, and I click, you will see that first I have the filters here directly on the sidebar, and I find one document because we use the tags. If you want to see everything related to these architectures, it's the reference architecture I presented on the previous version. If I remove it, you see all the other documents. So this, when you choose exactly what, when you use the filters, you will see only the documents which are using the tags. So you won't see everything. So it helps to reduce the, I would say, the noise we could have or we had in the past. So that's one thing. We still have the viewpoint. We're still working on this. Now, regarding the two new features, so the validator, there was a question around Joule. Yes, Joule, in theory, will be part of this. We might have to do it in 2 steps, I would say. One feature, one capability will be available in next month, or will come in Q1, as Navia mentioned. So first, I'm going to authenticate. So first with SAP, and then with GitHub. So everything will be okay. We'll use a passkey because much faster. Okay. So now I have access to both applications. I will start with the quick start. Quick start is, as I said, it's a WYSIWYG, description, author, etc. And I will choose some tags. Let's say up, 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 and everything you can type here. Or maybe I will steal some content from the, for example, here. Everything you can find, you can just paste. You can also load a Word document, and it will be converted into Markdown. And you can see that the table of content is created here. I can add a subpage, for example, if I want to recreate a hierarchy. So yes, tags are mandatory up. And you can see that you can create a hierarchy. You can save it locally. And so it's stored directly in the browser. And then once you are done, you can submit it, and it will create. I will try. I know I didn't test this morning. I know we were making some changes, but probably it's not going to work. Yes. So I think I will try a second time. If it doesn't work, it's just creating the PR, so doing a fault of your of the repo. And okay, second time works, and you can see that my changes are there, so it's totally transparent. It's creating the PR for you. Then another thing I want to go, yes, I look at the time before it's too late. So this is this will go through Joule. For now, we have a simple interface. This might not be what you're going to see in a few weeks. But the idea behind is to help people to validate or to check some reference architectures. And here on this, with this interface, we can do a batch. With Joule so far, I think we can do only one draw file at a time. Anyway, it doesn't make much sense to validate many reference architectures, many draw files at once. But it's going to check against a couple of rules and some recommendations. So see this more like a guideline where SAP is recommending a couple of things. So we have some guidelines, and we are going to check the draw file and test it against those rules. The number of rules is going to increase in the future. For now, we start, I I don't remember, maybe we have 15 different rules, and slowly we're going to integrate more rules. And also to check if you follow the guidelines recommended by Fabian, something was presented some minutes ago. And then you can make the changes necessary. But these options, so yeah, I think I should go back probably to the slide because I forgot. Yes, there was also a question on what's coming next. I should probably restart sharing the Validator and Quick Start you already saw. There are currently some discussions with the next integration. It's still going on. There will be the well-architected framework. Our target is to offer the security pillar by Sapphire next year, so in May 2026, and also to offer some LOB or industry-specific architectures, because this is also a request we got. So that's what we plan. So not for Teged, but this might come next year. And the demo I already did, and I think I'm done for the presentation. Thank you very much. If I didn't see if there are some questions, but I'm pretty sure Nadia already covered, answered to them. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pio, for everything that you've shared. Like, it's very exciting to see basically the future, right, of what's coming in the SAP Architecture Center. I also noticed that there were quite a few questions in the chat, yeah, well, you addressed a few of them, and Navia addressed most of them. So I don't think that there are any pending questions. I think in general, it's very interesting to see how people are excited with something like Joule, right, and how they can end up combining Gen AI with BTP Solution Diagrams so that they can automatically maybe generate that architecture and be reflected in a BTP account. That's very interesting. I don't know if you guys want to add anything related to that or
Nope.
no.
That's the last slide.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I think that should be it then. So thank you very much, Fabian and Pio and Navia for joining this session, sharing your knowledge and obviously your expertise. I'm definitely looking forward for what's coming in the SAP Architecture Center, and not just that, but also in the BTP Solutions diagram space. I know that when it was released, for example, I did collaborate a bit there, at least provided feedback, and the feedback was well received. So do know that if, for example, you have some feedback, the feedback is being heard by Fabian himself and by Lisa as well. And I would imagine that it's the same for the Architecture Center as well, right, Pio?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Feedback is really, really important. And this
Yeah.
is why also we have a V2, which is a bit changed compared to the V1. So when you have something to share with us, please don't hesitate.
Yes, also in our community of practice, we already have, just in case, how you can contribute to it. Also, if you have any ideas, you can create a GitHub issue around there. We also have GitHub discussions, so you can navigate it via GitHub, just to keep it simple. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you very much. And thanks to all of you viewers, either if you're joining the live event or watching the recording of this session, thank you for making it this far. And just a friendly reminder that there is plenty for everyone to learn during the TOEFest. So make sure to check out other sessions that are part of the event, not just the integration track, but also if you're interested in ABAP, CAP, or tooling, SAP Build, data analytics, AI, whatever it is in the SAP space, I would say you'll be able to find something for you as part of the TOEFest. And with that, thank you.
Thanks a lot,
Perfect.
Antonio.
Have a good one.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.